Can you separate the art from the artist? Throughout the speech, I will advocate for the viewpoint of the notion that art can be separated from the artist. Both can be argued and ultimately comes down to the individual. Author of Ethicist column and many other pieces of literature, Randy Cohen from the New York Times implies that some of us are great people, some of us are great artists, not many are both. To start off with, I think we have to talk about the subjectivity of art and that it'll always remain this way as it should. Many forms of art are ways of self-expression and provide the tools for anybody to make their own great art, no matter race, ethnicity, class, or sexual orientation. We have some examples on the screen right here. We have Karl Lagerfeld, who started, who brought back Chanel when he was around 60 years old. We have Jean-Paul Basquiat. He was 27 years old and came from a poor upbringing. And then at the very end there, we have Rei Kawakubo, who was 80 years old when she officially put Comme des Garçons to Paris Fashion Week. Through our various upbringings of culture, education, religion, and political lenses, we all have a different view naturally as to the nature of art. We as humans all have various different backgrounds. What is considered right from wrong plays a major role from the time and place we were born in. In relation to art, we will always perceive something different from the next person and the person next to us, and the purpose is interpretation, to stand out and create meaning for different people. Moral implications depend truly on the person viewing the art. I like to point to a place where art is usually separated from the art, and the art is an entirely separate entity. Right here we could see the museum, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and then next to that we have the Museum of Modern Art. Museums put works of art for display as what the works of art have done influentially and culturally. Museums put works of art in display for historical, influential, cultural, and progressive reasons, as these bodies of works have moved their various forms of art into a new direction. As art will always be subjective, there is no invisible line between art and artist, and therefore all surrounding context should be given to the consumer. If art were supposed to give the same message to everyone, we would not perceive it as great art, a great piece of art. Great art creates conversation, a message that could spread, and many other forms of communication between us. We could still have these conversations even if the work is made by a morally bad person. I personally believe all choices of consuming the art should be left to the individual. To expand upon that even further, the information and background should be there if the individual chooses to dive as deep as they want. Then the individual can take the piece of art as face value and make an opinion. If an individual decides to take art for what it is, they can do so and could explain as to why the piece of art exists away from the artist. The connection between the individual and a piece of art should not be taken away from the individual. Should not be taken away from the individual due to the artist's own actions. We have the ability to express our perspectives and reasons if we feel that a piece of art has a negative rhetoric or malicious intent. If an individual discovers the art they have consumed was made by a bad person and considers socially unacceptable and found imagery of the art's ideological or philosophical beliefs in the work, they could spread this information to others that have consumed it or future consumers. Right here, we can see a couple of examples. We have Coco Chanel, who actually worked with the Nazis. We have J.K. Rowling, whose most recent game has garnered a lot of backlash because it was made by J.K. Rowling, who is an open transphobe. And then on the left there, or on the very right, we have a pretty infamous one, Walt Disney, who is known for being very anti-Semitic. This can be extremely powerful tool as it denounces the artist for their actions, but can be dangerous. As we look at this debate we've been discussing, we can see valid reasons for indifferences and concerns. I have a quote from a professor that works at ASU that can sum up the stance of the argument. Gregory Bernstein, whose background is both in film and law, consumption is less personal than creation, so people can still enjoy art by people whose actions bother them, but that level of personal accountability they feel is dependent on their own belief system. As art is an integral part of our society, we have created a need for viewing, whether positive or negative, but we must have an understanding that the art is not the culmination of the artist. So looking at what art is today, let's take the time to truly not only observe the art, but the artist as well. Thank you.